IVM.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys.
You don't know the intensity of the news that you read. You just read and you just forget it in the next minute or two. But when you talk to them and when they tell you about the friends that stood in front of them to take the bullet, the kind of things that you hear and the kind of day in and day out standing in matlab, in 10 seconds they'll get a call. In 10 seconds they have to leave for a mission, for whatever it is in Kashmir. Because situation is that the difference is when you're encountering one-to-one, the whole thing is beautiful because they say it very at ease. We don't know, maybe if we'll come back, It's a one-on-one. How can you be so... We can't even think about it. Chalo yaar, I'm going to go filming. I don't think I'll be coming back home. How will you say that? So, imagine the mindset that they are in. So, when you know that mindset, you are like, you're blown away. And the whole hierarchy of, one of the officers told me, no, he came in front to protect me. And he took the bullet and he died. I said, how can somebody do that? We talk about, to our friends, I'll do whatever it is. I'll do whatever. There's somebody, just because he's my boss, just because he's my officer, he comes in between. Who does that?
Hello and welcome to the Filter Coffee podcast. My guest today, Vishnu Varadhan, is the director of one of the most buzzed about films of recent times, which is Shershaah, the biopic of the legendary Captain Vikram Batra. I followed Vishnu's career right from the 90s when he debuted as a child actor in Mani Ratnam's beautiful film Anjali, right through the 2000s when he started out as a director with the quirky noir film Arindum Ariyamalum in Tamil. Vishnu will of course go on to make many more films in Tamil and Telugu and now in Hindi with Shershaah. I've always loved Vishnu's cinema because it's a very unique take. There is always humor lurking around the corner, his frames are extremely stylish, and the film is overall a whole lot of fun. Which is why I found Shershaah very interesting, because it's a big departure from anything else I've seen from Vishnu. And I wanted to talk to him about the experience of imagining this legendary story of Captain Vikram Batra and actually bringing it to life. This is the Filter Coffee podcast, and we'll be right back after this very short break. Stay with us.
What if you could relive some of the biggest and most public feuds in Indian corporate history?
Peer back through the window of time to see who among HUL or Nirma stood on top.
Or who was more dominant between Tata Motors and Maruti Suzuki?
Tune in with me, Ambi Parmeshwaran.
And me, Anupam Gupta, on Bank of Baroda presents The Last Brand Standing,
where we talk about two brands vying for the top position
and what their journeys were.
Every Tuesday on the IVM podcast app or website,
or wherever you get your podcast from.
Welcome to the Filter Coffee podcast, Vishnu.
Hi, Karthik. Thank you so much.
Before we get to Shershaah, which really has become the talk of the town at this point,
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about your journey into cinema. I've been a huge fan of your work, starting right from Arindum Ariyamalum, like I mentioned at the intro.
I'm so impressed. You have seen all my films.
But I was watching Anjali recently.
Okay.
And
Holy good Lord. No.
I know you get asked this question a lot, but you were a child artist who debuted with that legendary, beautiful film. And I was wondering, about this boy who was riding and skidding on his BSA champ in slow motion, and what his relationship with cinema was back then, what his aspirations were after that, and how he has managed to chase them down.
See, Karthik, it's very simple, Karthik, because none of our family members are anybody from films, we're not. It's going to be a slightly longer story. Is it okay to just get you?
Yes, please.
Okay, so
yes.
Anjali was being made at that time and they'd go to many schools to get some kids, and I should really thank my Hindi teacher, because my Hindi teacher used to be in charge of all the culturals. So we used to dance in schools, dance at it. And that time she said, Acha, listen, there's some auditions they're calling. Why don't you guys go? So she called Vishnu, Krishna, Azam, 5-6 guys they called, and they said, okay, you guys go for the auditions. So we went, we had no clue. And The Hindi teacher like, at least go do this properly, Others like, of course, she loves me. She loved me a lot, And we went to GV Films office, and there were like thousands of kids. And we were like, what are we doing here? Anyway, we come all the way down here. They're giving fruity and samosa. Let's eat fruity and samosa and go. That was a plan. And there was a lanky looking boy dancing right in the front, and all the students, all the kids were following. And that's Prabhudeva.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So the assistant directors started selecting from the back because we were standing at the back. By fortunately or unfortunately, whatever you can call it, they started taking names from the back. So the kids started, they started filtering. And finally, we just got down to number of kids and that. But when I went to set, that was my first experience on film set. I was more fascinated, not on screen. I was more fascinated by the setups, the lights, and what Manisa was doing. That was more fascinating for me. I was too young at that time. I didn't know what to do. I said, okay, we have to do something like this. That was, I think I was doing my 6th grade, 7th grade, I think. So I said, this is what we are going to do. From that is where the dream started until you identified, you did your BSc Visual Communication, you specialized in photography, then you worked with Santosh Shivan. And then until you identified what you really want to do, whether you want to do cinematography or are you a storyteller, that identification, because predominantly everybody kept calling me only for acting. Because as an actor, so everybody wanted you to only come and act. So I used to be like, no, I want to do something behind. Someone don't joke now, they never used to take you seriously. But then, finally I'm here. See, I finished, when I was doing my college, I remember Santosh sir calling me to again act in Terrorist. So I told him, sir, I would like to work. So he said, no, I mean, they've been calling you only for auditions, asking you to act, whereas I've offered them saying I would like to work. But they didn't take you seriously. At that point of time, they didn't take you seriously. It's okay. You decided to study. And when you joined Santosh sir, you showed interest that you wanted to work on set. You used to go give you a shot and come back and help on sound, help on that, help on this, help on lighting. So that's how you joined, And then I have never worked in Tamil Nadu, Karthik. I moved to Bombay immediately because we were doing Fizza, Ashoka and all those films. So my working experience was here. And when I decided to make my film, so I said, okay, fine, chalo. I want to make my film, but I want to make my film from where I came from. So I just gave up my place over here. Then you went back to Chennai. Then you decided to do your film. And that was a difficult task, actually, as such, It was very difficult. Because for the fact you're going back to Chennai after working in Bombay and nobody knows who you are. You understand? Some new guys come in and all these things. Luckily, when we're doing Terrorist, the very first producers, that is Indian Image, was... they actually had offered me to direct. And that was a remake, actually. But then I was in an oscillation, whether should I do a remake. That's when I started writing my Arindam Mariamnam script, my first written. And then I think most of I said, okay, let me think about it. They told me, are you mad? People are really dying to direct a film. And you can use it at least a visiting card that you can direct a film before doing your original script. So from there on, it started. But then again, the problem started again in your second film because nobody wanted to do that film and nobody wanted to buy that. And that became one of the top 5 films of the year, and it became one of the top 5 albums of the year. See, the struggles were always there, After Arindam Mariamnam only, it eased out. It took almost a year and a half for me to, I was, I think, 25 at the time. 25, 26, when I was doing that film.
Right. You spoke about Arindam Mariammalam, and I remember I was living outside India at that point, and I had no background to a film like this coming. So I missed all the buzz around the film. Okay? I just suddenly one day just watched the film, and I was like blown away. Blown away simply because it was a very original take. Like it didn't remind me of Tarantino here or something else. It was a very original take. Right? And it was also original in the sense it was a very Chennai film.
Right? It is very Chennai film.
And it was a very unique take on humor, for example, in the film, right? Which goes throughout. And the music, of course, was one of the most legendary albums, a very, very different sound altogether. Right? So I was like, wow, blown away. And I think that sort of continued in all your other films also. A very, very unique, quirky sort of a take in this. I wanted to ask you about the cinema that inspired you when you were growing up.
See, when I was growing up, to be very honest, because my friends and in college, we were exposed to a lot of films like Godard, Francois Truffaut's, this and all these things, But I was more interested in Jackie Chan films, actually. So my college project, everybody were laughing at me because my college project, including my professor, I went and gave Jackie Chan's film. to analyze, film analyzing. So because for me that was more fun. At that point, that's how I was. So I was more exposed. So I watched a lot of action films at the time. I used to love a lot of Jackie Chan films, and I used to watch all kinds of films. Actually, I used to watch because my mother tongue is Telugu, and I understand Kannada, Malayalam. So you actually started watching a lot of films. So predominantly, if you ask me, Project A, Police Story, these are the films that I actually watched. If you're growing, Armor of God, no matter what, you never miss a film actually.
Oh, I just love the whole experience of going to a theater like AVM Rajeshwari or Devi in Chennai and watching the magnum opus of Project A or an Armor of God in 70mm and in Dolby Sound, with the crowd going crazy. It was such a unique cinematic experience, isn't it?
Yeah. See, that was the thing, no? By the time you get out, no, Karthik, when you want to really do your film, you left Bombay and you went back to Chennai because you want to start a film from where you came from. So that is where, see, there is a possibility of you being exposed. Those days, we used to have these VHS tapes, the CDs and all these foreign films and English films and all these things. Okay, chalo, you watch. But when it comes to writing a script or anything like that, you want to be very the things that's happening around you. You wanted to make it very Indian. That's how you have always approached.
Right. And after that, the other thing I've also noticed is suddenly there'll be like no news from you, and then suddenly something will pop out one fine day, and it'll be a very, very different sort of a film, very unique sort of a take on something like that. Like, for example, when Patil came up, I didn't know that such a film was being worked upon at all. Right? And these are all pleasant surprises. Then you watch the film with a very, very different set mind, right?
Correct.
What happens between these releases? What's your process? How do you pick up a project?
See, what happens is, it's not like, you keep multiple scripts ready and you work, you finish a film, and sometimes I just take a year off actually. 6 months I take off suddenly. You say it, you try to figure out what to do, and you suddenly come up with something and you start making. And if you see over the span of 8 feature films, which is 9th now, there is almost a year and a half, a year. And this film had the longest break, which is about some 3 to 4 years, 5 years probably. Because you wrote a script, you're about to start a film, and then, okay, that you didn't want to, because by the time Shershaah had happened, okay, because the subject was so interesting, okay, now you got into the research process. Then you spent about a couple of months on the research before myself and Sandeep Srivastava started writing the script. Then the writing process happened, and then you filmed it, and pandemic happened. So it was just extending. So if you see, somehow or the other, these things keep happening actually for me. And I have never bothered about, chalo yaar, you have done a film, you should immediately get out with one more thing. I've never bothered. So whenever things happen, they happen. So I've just let it be like that.
But irrespective of when your film comes out and, how it is, I think one thing is fairly obvious that it always is very clear that you had a whale of a time making that film. Right?
Yes. I have a blast.
I want to, go deeper into Shershaah. So when did that journey begin for you? How did it all start?
See, what happens is, the rights was acquired by Shabir Boxwala with the family, with Vishal Batra, who is an identical twin brother of Vikram Batra, Captain Vikram Batra. And Sandeep Srivastava was first on board to start doing the research. At that point of time, Sandeep used to regularly travel to Chennai because I've known him for a couple of years, and we both were planning another script, or discussion. So that time we used to talk about this project. I had no clue that I'm going to come on board on the script. I had no clue at all, So that's how it used to be. And Shabir used to be like, why is this guy going always to Chennai? Actually, you're going to meet Vishnu. If he comes to Bombay, why don't we meet up? Because sometimes I used to have discussions in Bombay. So when I came up, we met up. And then we met up with Karan, and everything started falling in place. And this was so interesting, you decided to just jump on it because there are a couple of reasons, Sometimes once you'll get an opportunity in your life, which I felt it at that time, whatever it is, you do not leave that. This is one of the opportunities because I have never done a biopic, Karthik. I've never done. So now that was very exciting for me. Fine. This is superb. I have never done a film on the armed forces, on the Indian Army. Yes. Now this is even more interesting. Okay. Now there is something that is challenging. There is something that is exciting coming your way. So why don't you take it up and do it? And that journey, I'm telling you, it more than stress or more than pressure, I had a lot of pleasure doing this film. I had so much of fun making this film because the more and more you kept doing the research, the more and more things were unfolding, and the more and more you were discovering yourself, you were breaking your own comfort zone, you were knowing about yourself. So the whole process was so interesting.
Talk to us about few incidents which made it really interesting for you, in this journey.
See, for example, nowhere in your wildest dream, you would have ever thought of traveling around the country meeting the officers. Okay, it's not like, chalo yaar, let's do a video call and let's call up. Okay, one officer is in Pathankot, one officer is in Delhi, one officer is in Kashmir, one officer is placed elsewhere, some parts of Punjab and some parts of Madhya Pradesh, MP. So they are just segregated all over. All the officers who have served with Vikram Batra and Vikram Batra's family, friends, Palampur, Chandigarh. Now this experience of meeting them, even now, if I'm not doing the film, even if I want to meet some officer or even understand how their lifestyle, what is living, I don't think I would have got the opportunity.
Right.
Like even if you're getting into an army camp, that is once in a lifetime opportunity. You can't simply say, chalo sir, I want to just go inside and have a look. It's not possible. A film of this sort will give you the experience of exploring the service. And not only that, once you see the entire process, the whole idea of armed forces, the way you look at it changes completely. The whole perspective changes. That becomes very interesting. And moreover,
how do you mean it? What changed for you in the perspective of?
See, I'll tell you, it's very interesting actually. See, because standing outside, they're serving our country. Good, they're protecting us. You don't know the intensity of the news that you read. You just read and you just forget it in the next minute or two. But when you talk to them, and when they tell you about the friends that stood in front of them to take the bullet, the kind of things that you hear, and the kind of day in and day out, they are day in and day out standing. Day in and day out standing in matlab, in 10 seconds they'll get a call. In 10 seconds they have to leave for a mission, for whatever it is in Kashmir. Because situation is that now the difference is when you're encountering one-to-one, one-on-one, the whole thing is beautiful because they say it very at ease. I mean, we don't know, maybe if we'll come back, it's a one-on-one. I mean, how can you be so, we can't even think about it. Chalo yaar, I'm going to go filming. I don't think I'll be coming back home. How will you say that? Say that? So, I mean, imagine the mindset that they are in. So when you know that mindset, you are like, you're blown away. And the whole hierarchy of, one of the officers told me, no, he came in front to protect me and he took the bullet and he died. I said, how can somebody do that? We talk about, to our friends, I'll do whatever it is, I'll do whatever. There's somebody, just because he's my boss, just because he's my officer, he comes in between. Who does that?
Wow.
Who does that?
Wow.
And sometimes everybody, I look at them, I feel like, do whatever, say whatever it is, a command is given, they follow. You protect your officers. So it's all about protecting your own thing, Finally, eventually they're protecting themselves, they sacrifice their life in order to protect you. And the freedom that we take for granted, it is unbelievable. It is like this. I can keep telling you many things like this actually.
No, it's hair raising just listening to the intensity with which you're saying, right? I can't even imagine what you must have gone through when you did this. It's one thing to sort of experience this. It's of course another thing to bring this to life the way you spectacularly done with this film. Right? I love the film so much.
Thank you so much.
I want to ask you, this is also a very interesting cast that you put together. It's not the kind of very intuitive sort of a casting in this, right? Maybe talk to us a little bit about that. Maybe the chief protagonists, Siddharth, and all that seem at some level probably an easy decision. But the overall casting process, how was it for you?
So it was very interesting. I'll tell you. Okay, when it comes to the casting, we had a Jogi as our casting director, So they read the script and what is the kind of a people. Now, every actor I meet, by then I had met all the real people. Do you understand? So I have their sensibilities. I have the way they speak. I have the way they are. That is more that is in you. So when you meet an actor and you just talk to them, man, he's more close to like the person that I have met. So irrespective of their body of work, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. See, because I believe when you get the casting right, 50% of your battle is won. I believe in that. So that is what has actually happened. So when you meet Shiv, when I meet Shiv, man, he looks like Sanjeev Jamal, Captain Sanjeev Jamal. And when you meet Raj Arjun, look at him. Sometimes I think there are traces of the real people you have seen. If you actually look at the photographs also, sometimes you feel they look alike. Sometimes you look like they have some features. It's not actually the features, it is some traits that I've taken, how they have performed, which is almost looking like a casting is well done.
Wow.
That's how it went in, and for the fact also Siddharth Malhotra and Kiera Advani, Siddharth I knew because Siddharth was on board, when I got on board, Siddharth was on board, and I knew for the fact the more and more you were researching and everything, that Siddharth is the right person for that. And I'm very sure, even when I was filming, I could see that boy putting a lot of effort in also gathering materials and not imitating Vikram Batra, but taking the informations as a muscle memory, and you just perform. You don't try to imitate the real person, and also when the real Dimple met the real Dimple, and the real Dimple, the Kiera met Dimple. I still keep calling them Vikram and Dimple. All she had to do, she had to hear her out. Hear her out in the sense, how would you walk? How would you dress? That is not what it is. How did you feel? What did you think about him? It's about the sensibilities of the fragileness of the person. Because we all know it's all over. Vikram Batra story is all over. And for the fact that Dimple Chiman, Vikram Batra story is one of the most popular love stories, actually. Yeah. It is very, very truth is stranger than fiction. That's what they say. And sometimes when the officers tell me what Vikram has actually, Captain Vikram Batra has done, I would really wonder, did this really happen? You'll get into the car and it'll be sitting like this. God, even you write a script, you can't write like this, man. How can something happen like this? You used to go through that feeling. That's how you used to feel. Wow. So I think pretty much, I think that's what actually worked for the casting, because you met everybody, you spent a lot of time. When you just come back and just look at your actors, it's not about the names or it's not about the body of work. It's about who's just going to fit in.
Beautiful. And this research that you did when you went around meeting all of it, how long did you do that? Because that seems to have driven a lot of your decisions in the film.
Over the course of time, I think it took a couple of months, I think. It took a couple of months, yeah. You would go one round, you would come back. Okay, then you would plan Delhi and you would plan another town. So like that, you just kept meeting and you just come back and you discuss, because everybody has a view. Everybody has a take on Vikram. Everybody has a take. Now what happens is, now you're listening to, it's like storytelling, everybody are giving you one version. And through that, eventually you try to get a body out of it. You get a voice out of it. That's how it all helped, because you can meet people, but Vikram had sacrificed his life. Only the people who served with him or who were close to him can actually talk about him.
Right. Right. It's beautiful. Beautiful. And I know it's very early days, but what are some of the interesting things you heard from audience who've seen the film?
I'll tell you one thing. I think the moment I gave the print, I actually tend to first run away, actually. See, it's not that. See, but it's overwhelming, actually, because I know it's a nice, interesting story. You gave everybody, from your technicians, from your producers, Dharma and Kash Entertainment, Karan, for them to believe, all of us to, I think that is what has happened to this film, where everybody come together, believe in one, and you are given all the facilities and let to do the film. What more greater thing you need, when you do that, you are so focused in it. Sometimes when you receive reactions like, it is really goosebumps and all. The first trailer when it came out, goosebumps. And I am really looking like this because I am seeing it. And is this what they are seeing? Sometimes I really want to go to their perspective and see what they are seeing. You understand?
But that will be tough for you, right?
Yeah. This is how they read. This is how they. And sometimes they come up with some minute details. They come up with some minute details where these guys the soldiers run over the flag, actually. They run over the flag. I'm shocked. I'm surprised to see the kind of details they look at. And especially even when the armed forces, the chief of army and all of them saw the film, when they reacted. It feels nice. I think some of the best compliments you got are from your producers and from the army personnel, because when your producers say, we put in a lot of money, but it's all worth it. That is the first thing you could hear, which is really nice, which I really loved what Karan said. And the second thing is when the armed forces, the next set of people who saw the film, then the family, you were going through stages, and then the public, when it comes out, it was overwhelming. I never expected, Karthik, the truth is, I never expected this. So much of love, absolutely not. And it all goes to the people who really loved it, and it all goes to Captain Vikram Batra for how much he has connected with the audience.
So how did you manage to shoot this film over the last couple of years? Because it's very evident that it is logistically must have been a very challenging film. How did you manage to pull it off with all this lockdown going on all around us?
I think luckily, we were very fortunate, if I need to tell you that, because we planned our first schedule, in Chandigarh and Palampur. So because our script was so tight and so clear, even in my first schedule, I shot the climax of the film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I shot the entire funeral procession on the very first schedule, actually. You were that precise on what to do. The toughest schedule was Kargil. We were not meant to shoot in Kargil first. Just imagine, no? Sometimes the film decides how it has to be made, and you are chosen for it. That's what has happened with Shershaah, actually, if you ask me the truth. We were supposed to shoot in Kashmir and some parts of Leh. And the army said, the MOD, the Ministry of Defense said, listen, we can't support you because situation is a little tense. We can't support you now at this point of time at the place. So we really said, okay, now we're nearing shoot. So without the army support, you can't make this film. It's their film, it's their baby. It's as much as it's ours. He's a national hero. So they said, listen, if you guys want, you can come to Kargil. I have n number of times from Srinagar, you pass Kargil and you go to Leh to see locations. Not even in your wildest dream that you thought you would land up in Kargil. But that is one of the most craziest. If I talk to you about my experience in Kargil, I can talk for hours, because the day I landed, 370 was announced. All network shut, no trucks are missing. You don't know where people are. People are stuck before Srinagar. Then we had to somehow, with the help of the locals, the army personnel, the police, we had to track them and send them through Manali to Leh and then bring them down. So it was chaotic. You're sitting, people protesting outside, tear gas is flying, you are just sitting. It was a nightmare. You're sitting, how is the shoot going to happen? The production, the local, the army, everybody pulled it off. And where you're filming in a place where the war actually happened. Probably you were not filming at that height where they were fighting. It's impossible. At least you were filming at a height of 12 to 14,000 feet, and the war was fought somewhere around 16,000 feet, more higher. And trying to get the terrain, trying to understand the terrain through what people said, try to find locations like that, and try to match Kashmir also over there. It was a task. I really don't know how we pulled it off. It was like something gotten onto you and you were just going on.
But that must have also been emotionally more demanding for you, right? Like if you're shooting somewhere else, then at least you're emotionally detached. Now you're little too much involved in the reality of it, isn't it?
True. All you got to do is, see, Karthik, it is, when you meet people, you listen to that. Something happens to you, God, really? It's like that. So this is how it is. Now, if that feeling is translated onto screen, and if it is connecting with the people, that's all you need to do. So how much I felt, what it was, is what I was actually trying to translate that emotion out, actually. That's all I was trying to translate.
Beautiful. Vishnu, you made a visually beautiful, stunning film. And of course, a lot of us are going to consume this film on a streaming platform. Does it affect you? Is my first question. And of course, the reality is that it'll always be a mixed bag between streaming and theaters going forward, right? Do you think this reality will influence your process?
No, I don't think it'll affect. I think it's always good, because new things will come, and it's always better that you adapt to it, because for the fact this is going to be the future, And now listen, in a times like this, we are getting the film to your homes. What more you need? But when you're filming, it, you would not want to think if it's going to be for whether for an Amazon Prime, or are you going to come for a theatrical release. You would film what the film requires. The story, the emotion has to be told. Yes, I would definitely miss the big screen, and it's a viewing experience. This film, the way the sound is designed and the way the visuals are, it is definitely a viewing experience. I was only worried how they are going to be received, and I was so happy the way it was received through Amazon Prime, because it has reached every household in a day. It's almost like, guys, you stay safe, we are coming home. It was almost like that. But to get this kind of love and response was phenomenal. I really didn't expect this.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Vishnu, we usually end the episode by asking the guest what he or she is watching, reading, listening to. What are you watching these days? I would love to know what you're watching.
I've been watching all the Telugu films, Tamil films that I missed, which is coming on Amazon and everything. I've been watching that. Then I've been watching a lot of shows, actually.
Anything you've loved in shows and Tamil Telugu films?
Sarpatai I really liked, which released now, Arya's film. Yeah, that was nice. And I think recently only I finished actually Peaky Blinders, which I really loved. Then I finished Vincenzo, Korean show, and I finished Vagabond. Sometimes you just sit and you just watch. It was like that. Then Chernobyl. Those are some of the really nice shows, actually. When they see us, there are a lot of shows.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful shows. This Is Us.
So it's wonderful. Yeah.
Shit Creek.
Yes.
Hilarious, yeah.
And I love the range of what you're watching.
Family Man. Then I watch all the Telugu films, new actors, new Telugu films, everything that comes. It's so much of fun to sit and watch, because the kind of work that they've put in, what is running in their head, how did they make that film? It just gets it. It's a trippy thing.
Lovely. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. And Thiruppi Paakalam. Kandipa.
Safe travels.
You too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Karthik.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcasts.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I am _Karthik. That's Karthik with an H on Twitter. And filter_coffee. That's coffee with a K on Instagram.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says, author-director Neeti Sharma talks about her new book Invictus, The Jungle That Made Me. On Getting Meta with Chuck, Meeta Malhotra, founder and editor of The Hard Copy, tells us how not to be scared of making mistakes. Shiladitya and myself talked to the CEO of MX Player, Karan Bedi, about his vision for his company on Shunya One. On Noir Kanun, Amber introduces us to law search engines and how to use them with Indian Kanun founder Sushank Sinha. And on Tere Mere Raste, Kesho travels to the abandoned city of Fatehpur Sikri. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you enjoyed this show or any of our shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to spread the word about a podcast. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week: Ciet Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quarter, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Intuit India. We really do appreciate the support. You are what makes this possible.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Arshit. खाने का इतिहास, economics, policy, psychology, सब है मेन्यू पे.
Only on the Nankari podcast every Wednesday. सिर्फ IVM podcast app या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो.